As Indiana basketball continues summer workouts, the word is
you are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Well, thank you so much for being here. Start of a new week here at Locked On Hoosiers. Again, I always appreciate you being here. Shout out to my everydayers. You are the reason that this podcast is doing so successful, and you're the reason we're having so much fun over here. So thank you so much for everybody that has watched, liked, comment, subscribe. Be sure you do that on YouTube and on your audio platforms as well. Lots to get to on the show today. Kel'el Ware is preparing for the NBA draft. We'll talk about where he sits as draft week is here. All right, we'll get into that. Plus, Trent Sisley, one of Indiana's top targets in the 2025 class, has cut his list to 5. And yes, the Hoosiers are in that top 5. And where I want to begin today is with summer workouts. Summer practice is continuing. Summer workouts are ongoing for Indiana basketball and this new look Indiana team. And there's some word about how practice is going. A couple of players that are really stepping up. We did this a few weeks ago when practice had just really gotten underway. But here we are now as we get towards the end of June, which is a wild thought in itself. But there's some good things to talk about here. The first thing that I'm hearing, is Mackenzie Mgbako continues to be a knockdown shooter. His three-point shot has gotten even better. And I did an episode a while back here on the podcast, on the show. If you missed it, you can go back and listen to it and watch it. I was talking about, will Mackenzie Mgbako get better or worse in his sophomore season? And from everything I'm being told and everything that I hear, he's already gotten better. He's gotten better in so many different aspects of his game, particularly shooting the basketball, which we've had the conversations of how he's going to benefit this team if he can be a lights out, knockdown three-point shooter. We already know that the pressure's off of him offensively because you've brought in so many weapons on that side of the floor. Plus, you bring back Malik Renew. But you also are going to be able to use him as your go-to three-point shooter. Yes, you have guards that can shoot. They're still not the best. But I still think that Mackenzie Mgbako is going to be your best three-point shooter. And the fact that he's showing that right now to you in the summer, if you're Mike Woodson and this coaching staff, that is a huge, huge win. Now, there's a big difference between doing that in June in the gym and doing that in the regular season, and then, of course, in the Big Ten schedule as well. Like, you've got to be able to knock those shots down on Saturday nights on the road at Purdue. You know what I'm saying? So, if he can do that, this Indiana team's going to be in really good shape. I've heard good things about Luke Goody and his shot as well. So, I think the Hoosiers are going to have some three-point shooters, whether they're starting or whether we have them coming off the bench. I think you're going to see a better shooting team this year for us. I believe that's going to be the case. So while the guards may not be the most lights out, knockdown three-point shooters in the country, Myles Rice is able to knock it down. Kanaan Carlyle can shoot one and make one if he has to. That's not really their go-to. That's not really their game, but they at least have that in the bag, right? You saw a year ago with Xavier Johnson when he was healthy, and even with Gabe Cupps, who of course is back this year, three-point shooting really wasn't their strong suit at times, and I think other teams knew it. I mean, the other teams understood that Indiana, we are one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country. So that is good news, that Mackenzie Mgbako continues to step up, continues to grow, and continues to get better. Speaking of Myles Rice, I've heard wonderful things about that man's leadership since he has stepped on campus and since he has really taken that leadership role of this program, which is fantastic. It's phenomenal. It's something that we were missing a year ago. A leader, a guy who wanted to be the head of the program, a guy who wanted to take the team into the fire and take responsibility for what was happening. I think the guys last year responded really well and said a lot of the right things in post-game and during the middle of the week and things like that. But nobody ever stood up. We had a whole episode about this last season, about how nobody was a leader. There was no leader on that team last year. We didn't have one. And it sounds like Myles Rice is going to be that guy already this year here in Bloomington. And so if that can be the case, if you can have that leader at the guard spot, I don't care if it's Myles Rice or if it's Kanaan Carlyle, but it sounds like Myles Rice has become that guy. It just opens up so many possibilities. And it goes back to the summer being so crucial for the team bonding, the team cohesion. And you've seen this team go out and do different events and do different things and go fishing and all this type of stuff. I mean, they are doing the right things in the offseason, I believe, to make themselves a good team non-basketball wise. And what I mean by that is, yeah, when you go out and do a team bonding event, like, you're not just going to all of a sudden upgrade your three-point shooting because you went and hung out with the team at dinner, or you're not going to be able to make a better bounce pass on a backdoor cut because you went and fished at the local pond. You know what I'm saying? But what that does do is allow you to be on the same page. You have better chemistry, you have better relationships, you have a better understanding of who the other guys are. So then, yeah, when he's about to make that backdoor cut, since you've been practicing it this summer, you already know he's about to go, and boom, Myles Rice dumps it down, and there's a slam dunk for Malik Renew. Those are the things that this team is working on right now. And the fact that you have somebody stepping up like Myles Rice to be a leader at the point guard spot, who's going to be orchestrating everything on offense and most likely calling out a lot of things on defense, that is huge. It's something we did not have a year ago, and you saw that when this team would get knocked down. What happened last year? I'll ask you, what happened last year when this team would get punched in the mouth? They'd stay down. They'd fall, and they would not get back up because they had nobody to go to. They had nobody to look to because nobody was able to take that step up. That's already happening this year, and I think he will not be the only one. I do not think Myles Rice is going to be the only so-called leader on this team. I think you will have numerous vocal guys, confident guys, and ones that this team can turn to when times get tough, because it's going to be a hard season, but this is going to be a really good team. And the things I'm hearing coming out of summer workouts right now are really, really promising. Good shooting, good leadership, couple of little injury things. I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. And I think this team is doing the right things to be the best right now in the middle of the summer. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we will take a look at Trent Sisley, who officially cut his top five, or I guess cut his list to his top five just a few days ago. And you guessed it, Indiana is in that top five. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Look, I love sports, obviously, and I love them so much that I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want to. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus every single day. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. I appreciate you being here again. Shout out to all of my everydayers. If you're new here, thank you so much. Glad you're here. Be sure you become a part of this wonderful community, whether you're on audio, whether you're on video. If you are on audio, follow us, subscribe, turn on notifications, whatever you got to do so you never miss a new episode here of Locked On Hoosiers. If you're on the YouTube video, comment, like the video, send it out to your family and friends. If they're Indiana basketball, Indiana football, Indiana anything fans, they need to be right here each and every day. So thank you so much. Also, subscribe to the channel. Live update as we record on Locked On Hoosiers, 2,642. So thank you so much for that. Let's try to get to 2,700. We are well on our way to doing that. So thank you so much. And again, the everydayers are the reason that we do this. Well, Trent Sisley, a guy that you know of by now, you know the name, you know the stats, you know the numbers, right? He has been recruited by some of the best in the entire country. And just a couple of days ago, late last week, he did officially cut his list to his final 5. It's a guy that, let's be real, from the state of Indiana, the numbers blow you away. He could pretty much go and play wherever he wanted to. Highly rated 4-star, 6'7", 205-pound power forward from Lincoln City, Indiana. And I mean, he's a top 5 player in the state, I think, and he's a top 20 player in the country. I mean, well, I guess probably top 50-ish maybe, but he's still a really, really good player. And Indiana has been all over him. They've been recruiting him. They've brought him on visits. He's been here officially, or I guess unofficially, a few times. He competed in the camp here at Assembly Hall just a few weeks ago and dropped like 48 points in a game. So I think he's doing all right, and I think Indiana really, really wants him. I know that we want him really bad. And he has finally cut his list down from all these other schools down to 5, okay? He has cut it down to 5. And again, these are in no order, no particular order. Michigan State, Iowa, Notre Dame, Purdue, and Indiana. Again, Michigan State, Iowa, Notre Dame, Purdue, and Indiana. Now, I will go ahead and make a prediction. I think he either goes here to Bloomington for Indiana, Purdue, or Notre Dame. I think he's going to stay in the state. I think I think it's going to happen. I really do. Just from what I hear and a little bit of a gut feeling, I think he stays in the state. And I still believe that Mike Woodson and this entire staff are really in a good spot with Trent Sisley. It's a guy that Indiana has been recruiting from the Indiana Elite AAU team. Been bringing him in. Braylon Mullins had an episode about him late last week. Just a guy that this team really wants. I mean, it's a guy that any program will be better because of him. Like, he will make any team better. His scoring ability, his shooting, his defense, just his basketball-esque. I mean, he's just that good. He's that talented, and he's proven it time and time again. And as I mentioned, when you come to a camp in Indiana and you start dropping threes inside of Assembly Hall, yeah, that's going to turn some heads. That's going to really get this program fired up. Coaches were there, staff members were there, team members were there. I mean, everybody was watching these kids go off, and Trent Sisley was right there at the top. And a guy that I'm really, really excited for, even if he doesn't come here, which I think there's still a really good chance, okay? But even if he doesn't, same thing with Braylon Mullins, really. Same thing with a lot of these guys, Jalen Harrelson or Chris Senack, all these guys that we talk about. This is such a good class, this 2025. I'm excited just to see what they do. I really am. I'm excited to see how they pan out, where they end up going, and what they end up doing. Now, of course, we want them all to come here to Bloomington and be the next great group of Indiana players, and I think that's still a possibility, and Trent Sisley made that official with the Hoosiers being in his top 5. He has official visits scheduled. He will be at Purdue on September 6th. He'll be at Indiana. He'll be here in Bloomington on September 20th. He'll be at Notre Dame on September 27th, and then Michigan State on October 12th. He has been to all of these schools already just for unofficial visits or camps or things like that. But he's taking his one official visit per school. Reminder, a school can have and host as many official visits as they want, and a player can take as many official visits as they want. Those rules have obviously been thrown out the window since the rules what they were and what they used to be. But here's something you need to remember. You can only take an official visit to this one school one time, and the school can only host you on an official visit one time. So Trent Sisley, when he comes to Indiana on September 20th, that's it. He will be here. That's his one official visit to Indiana. He cannot come back for an official visit, okay? So keep that in mind when you see these guys taking visits. Like, he can't do this multiple times at multiple schools. He can show up for unofficials all he wants to, right? He can show up, walk around, but officially, he'll be here September 20th. And I don't love it being a couple of weeks after Purdue and being kind of squeezed in there in the middle, because these visits, they stretch over a little, about 5 weeks or so, and Indiana's kind of in the middle. And I always tell you, in a group of official visits like this, I like to be the first one or I like to be the last one. Being in the middle, not great, in my opinion. I don't think it's a death sentence. It's just something to keep an eye out for. And it's something to take note of, because it's hard, right? It's really hard when he's going to go to Purdue. That'll be his first true official visit in that cycle. And he is going to get blown away. I mean, they're going to show him everything that's great there. And there's a lot going on over at Purdue. They have a lot to offer there, right? So they're going to show him all of that. They're going to talk bad about us. And then he's going to come here the very next time. His very next trip, 2 weeks after that, will be here to Indiana. Okay, let's say he has a good trip. Everything's going well, yada, yada, yada. Well, then the very next week, he's at Notre Dame. And then the very next week, or maybe it's the next 2 weeks, it is the next 2 weeks, he'll be at Michigan State. And they'll have that final visit where they get to lay it all out. And they'll be the last ones he thinks about, the last ones he hears before he makes his decision. And there's no timetable, there's no day on when he's making his decision, on when he's committing to a school, but it's pretty well known that he wants to do it, as a lot of these kids do nowadays. He wants to do it before his high school season starts, before his senior year starts in Indiana. So, I mean, you're talking, October, late October, early November, I think, for this guy to make his decision. Indiana's in the top 5, and I feel really good about it. I do. I feel really good, but this thing is not over, all right? This thing is not over, and it's nowhere close. This is a battle between Purdue, Indiana, and Notre Dame. I think he stays here. I think he's in state. I think he's an in-state kid that wants to be in state, and it's going to be a fight to the very end for Trent Sisley, who is a top 50, top 70 player, I think, in the country. One of the best in the state of Indiana. 4-star, 6'7", 205 pounds. Good news is we're in the top 5. And look, as they say this in the lottery, I think, you got to be in it to win it. And so that's where the Hoosiers stand right now. And if you get him, I think he brings others with him. I'll say that. I don't think you just land one. I've said this. You will not just, this 2025 class is not going to be a one and done situation. This is not Mackenzie Mgbako and you're done. This is not a Bryson Tucker and you're done. This class is going to be stacked and loaded for Indiana. I believe that. I believe numerous guys are coming. And I think if Trent Sisley commits, you'll see others go. I'm not saying he'll be the first one or the last one. I don't know where he'll fall in that timetable, but I think you will have multiple guys committing and playing in Indiana in Assembly Hall for the 2026 season. And I think Trent Sisley is one of those guys. And I also think he's very crucial to that class too. I think they're all tight-knit. I think he's one that will make this program better, and Indiana is in his top 5. Well, coming up in our final segment on Locked on Hoosiers, it's NBA Draft Week, and Kel'el Ware is preparing for that. He got the invite to be in Brooklyn. Where is he projected to go, and how high can he go? We'll talk about that in our final segment coming up on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay's Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Final segment here on the show. Again, I thank you so much for being here. Always a blast getting the week started with Locked On Hoosiers, and thank you so much for making this your first listen each and every day. Reminder, we are in the off-season mode here on the College Channel, so going 3 to 4 days a week. This will be a 3-day week for me, okay? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for Locked On Hoosiers. I'll explain at the end, but thank you so much for being here. Be sure you like the video, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on your audio platforms if you're doing that as well. It's NBA draft week for Indiana's Kel'el Ware and all the other people, but we don't care about them. Kel'el Ware is a guy that we are so happy for and so proud of and so excited to see what happens for him at the next level. But this week is where we find out what the next level looks like for him, right? We find out how high he's going to go in the draft and where he's going to start his NBA career. I have talked about how I have a couple of teams that I'm okay with him going to. And I think some of you kind of disagreed with me, and that's totally cool, right? That's what this is about. I've talked about going to a place like the Lakers, where he has been projected for quite some time to play behind Anthony Davis for 2 or 3 years and then step in and be the man. But some of you are worried, and this is totally legit, you're worried about him going there and never being used and just kind of being tossed around, bounced around different organizations. That's very fair and very well could happen. And a lot of you are saying, go somewhere, I don't know, like the Magic or something like that, where they could go to an organization where they'll use him and go somewhere where they need him right away. And you know what? That's fine too. I was thinking more from a developmental pressure kind of side of things, where if you don't have to go in and be the man right away, I think it works out better in the long run. But I also get the side of, look, he needs to go in and start because you have to make a name for yourself as quickly as you can in the NBA. Totally get that too. Well, we're going to find out what that looks like this week, as a 7-footer will be drafted this week. He'll be in Brooklyn, right? He's going to be in Brooklyn, right? Remember last week, he got the invitation to be in the green room there in Brooklyn for the NBA draft. They don't send those to everybody. They don't send those to just anybody. There's a reason that Kel'el Ware got the invite, because they need him to be there. They want him to be able to go out, shake Adam Silver's hand, get his hat, get the picture, do the interviews. They want him to be a part of the whole show. That's what it is. The NBA draft is entertainment. It's a show. It's a production. Okay. And so they want him to be there for that. Now, you start looking through all these different projections and where he's going, and man, they fluctuate like crazy. It's kind of wild. And shout out to Jared Kelly over at Peegs.com, the 247 site for Indiana, because he put an article together yesterday, and go check it out if you want to, at 247 Sports. He put together basically all the projections in one big list. So shout out to him for doing this. It helped us out a ton. You've got all the way projections from number 11 overall to the Chicago Bulls from Yahoo Sports, all the way down to number 25 at NBADraft.net and CBS Sports. So, I mean, I don't understand how you have guys saying he's the 11th overall prospect all the way down to 25. That just seems like a big gap to me. Does it not to you? I don't know. And he says the average is 19, which that's pretty fair. I mean, you've got 25, 25, 23, and 25, by the way, would be the New York Knicks. 23 from USA Today to the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think I'd hate that. You have 23 from ESPN to the Bucks, 20 by SB Nation to the Cavs, 17 by NBA Draft Room to the Lakers. Multiple people have the Lakers going here. 13 by Bleacher Report to Sacramento. That'd be interesting. And then Yahoo Sports, number 11 overall to the Chicago Bulls. Out of those teams, I mean, I guess I don't have a preference. Again, I've talked about the Lakers. I think the Bulls could be good, and I think that's a really fun Bulls team that's going to be good. Same thing with Cleveland. I mean, I know they've got a couple of big guys in there, but that could almost be the same situation as the Lakers, where step in, learn a little bit, and then be the man down the road for a really good, young, athletic, title-driven Cleveland Cavaliers team. So keep an eye out for that one as well. I would like to see, just because it's cool and you get to tag that onto your name forever, I want to see him become a lottery pick, which is top 15 in the draft. Only 2 people are projecting him to be a lottery pick, but he's trending up as we get closer to the draft. So we'll see how that goes. Excited for him regardless. I mean, really, really excited for for Kel'el Ware this week at the NBA draft. And if he can, I mean, look, he's going to be a first rounder, which is always exciting, which is something that Indiana can use in their recruiting, right? In their pitches to be like, hey, we've got this guy in the league. We've got this guy in the league. We have this guy in the league. We have a guard. We have a forward. We have a center. And then they're going to continue to put guys like that in the NBA. And you have to use that, man. That's what guys want to know. That's what made Kentucky so successful for so long, was they just kept churning them out and pumping them into the NBA. And so if you do that, you're going to be in a good spot. Kel'el Ware is going to help you with that. 7-footer. Got to put on a little muscle. Got to find a shot somehow, but I think he's still going to be a really good NBA player. The draft starts this week, starts on Wednesday night. They're in Brooklyn, New York. It's Wednesday and Thursday. Kel'el Ware will be drafted on Wednesday in the first round. The question is, how high will he go? Drop your predictions. I want to hear from you. What do you think? Where does he go? Where should Kel'el Ware go? And I guess where would be the best spot for Kel'el Ware to be drafted this week in the NBA draft? Drop them down in the comments below. That's going to do it for today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers. Again, I appreciate you so much being here. We are here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week. I'm out of town, long weekend for a bachelor trip, so keep that in mind. I'll remind you over these next few days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Locked on Hoosiers. Be sure you are locked in right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. If you're on the audio side, like it, subscribe, do whatever you got to do so you never miss an episode. Here on YouTube, if you're watching, okay, you can like the video, comment down below, talking all this stuff we had today. Plus, be sure you click on our icon and subscribe to our channel, okay? We're on our way to 2,700 subscribers. Become an everydayer. They'll tell you we have a lot of fun every single day, and it's a fun community to be a part of. So have a great Monday. We'll be back tomorrow here on Locked on Hoosiers. And until then, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.